This video is sponsored by OneFootball. OneFootball's app makes it easy to keep up to date with transfer news, scores and stats all in the one place. To download the OneFootball app, click the link in the description. The app is free. To watch more of this video, get over and join us on Patreon.
We've had a couple of other questions in as well that we will get to at some point this week. So if you've sent one in, don't worry, it will be used. Simple as that. So, yeah. So what are our thoughts?
Well, I mean, David's picked up on certainly something. He said what we've been saying, certainly something I've said. I'm not... I don't know what your view on it is, actually, because it's always me that says it. But based on the opinion that I've got, that this gap, so-called perceived gap, is something that the media trot out, I think, to try and reinforce that there's this big six, powerful six, nobody else can get near them. I think it's nonsense, personally. I do. I think there's obviously a clear gap between Liverpool and Manchester City, and then I'd put Spurs in that bracket, albeit a little bit off those two. But the other three, Chelsea, Arsenal, United, for me, I don't see much of a gap between them and Everton, if I'm perfectly honest. I think what they have is what David's just said, is that it's the consistency, and that is where the gap lies. Now, David's question is, how do we breach that? I mean, what are your thoughts on when I say that? I mean,
I think there's a definite gap. I can't look at the table and see 15 points between 6th and 7th and say there's not a gap, because there is. But I think the gap you're talking about and the gap that consists over 38 games are two different things. Everton have proved in the last 4 games, that they are not a million miles away from those teams. The problem is, and this is where it's gone wrong for Everton this season, is can you do it when things are against you? Can you do it when there's a fixture pile up? Can you do it when you lose 2-3 of your players? Can you do it when some of your players aren't fully at it? And that's the gap.
So is that a gap, or is that a quality gap, or is it a consistency gap?
But I think you've got to.
Or is that one that goes into the other?
I think they're different things, but they're also the same thing in a weird way. I think we spoke about this on the final word when we spoke about Arsenal and Chelsea and the Europa League. When they go in the Europa League and you see the fact that they can replace their centre forward with Giroud, they can have maybe Ross Barkley in, and they can maybe have Loftus-Cheek in. That to me is the level we need to get to. It's not I honestly think our first 11 would give anybody a game in the Premier League, but so would most teams on their day if they had their best 11 out, apart from a couple of maybe 3 or 4 teams. And that's what makes the Premier League so interesting. But
can the others consistently beat teams in the top 6?
Well, they can't. But Wolves have beaten a lot of the top 6 this season. Yet they get beaten out of places like Burnley and things like that. I think for me, where the top 6 has changed, where it's become a top 6. 10 years ago, it was a top 4. It was the Sky 4. It was the Big 4. It was all this nonsense, and we all just went. At the time, we were like, but at the time, we were knocking on the door. We were 5th and 6th, but we were never let in the party. So maybe it's a little hangover from that for us personally. That's still, but I think we only ever qualified once or got into the top 4 once. Whereas now, you look at those 6 teams, and those 6 teams are jockeying for position. And with 3, 4, 5 games after the season, they're still jockeying for position. 4 teams could still get in the top 4. And that's the difference now. And when we got the money, when Machedi came in, we honestly thought, well, we're gonna make this a 7. We're gonna make this 7 teams, and we're gonna be knocking on the door every year. It hasn't happened, and the reason it hasn't happened, I think, we know why it hasn't happened, but one of the reasons I think that is more than Everton, and is for any team that is striving, is it's really difficult with the way it's set up for the European places. There's 6 teams and there's 6 European places essentially, and then we know, well, there's not though, is there? There's 5. there's 5, but there's almost that guarantee that every year someone in the top 4 is either going to win the FA Cup or the League Cup, and it always happens, and it has always happened for God knows how long. So you can guarantee 6 places. The 7th you can't guarantee, and as we City, we still can't guarantee that 7th place as a European place. So we're all trying to reach this mythical. We are at the moment trying to get this 7th place. That way, like, could get us into Europe. We could get to the last day of the season, be 7th, and be like, well, we still don't know if we're going to Europe. We're relying on Man City, which you would be confident of, but you still can't be sure.
No.
Because then Watford would be going, well, that's our one chance now. We finished 8th or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. So it's really hard, I think, to go into a season and say, well, we're going to try and get that 7th place and almost bank on it like it's something. But the top 6 have been are able to almost bank on something, and I think that as long as that continues, if you know what, right, if Europe changes, which it is going to change, because we're going to get this 3rd competition, aren't we? So they might come and they might go, right, next year, 4 Champions League teams, 2 Europa League teams, and 2 into this new one, and it might go down to 8th or 7th might be a guarantee of Europe, and I guarantee you then the dynamics will change.